Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to another fabulous episode of Stories Around Azeroth. As always, I am the extremely tired Pete Titans Creed Nethercoat, joined by the greatest gnome this side of Azeroth 1, Mr. Frazley Tastic. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm bouncing in energy, but I had not spent the past 3 days playing Sonic games straight for like 14 to 16 hours, so I've got 11 more energy than you do.
It's been a good but exhausting weekend, and I'm sure we'll dip on that a little bit later. Joining us today is someone that knows a lot about Warcraft and knows about addons specifically. You may have seen him around the internet before. It's one Grand Nagus. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, thank you for having me today. I'm doing kind of fine. Yeah, we're almost done with today. So since we're both in Europe. Yeah, Frazley is the odd man out here. So yeah, and no, it's going well. I've had a nice day. It's been nice and sunny. Not that that mattered for me going outside, since there's that big raid boss out there, and we don't want that one to catch us. So
that's the
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of it considered like that, but that's actually pretty good. I never really thought about it like that.
It had quite a few wipes on that one.
Efos Fox has called that one the human malware. I mean, there's I know Game Grumps is calling it the Backstreet Boys tour.
Yeah. Oh, that's where that came from. Got it.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
And I have to say, it's pretty cool having Grand Nagus here, because you were, I think, the second or third WoW podcast I started listening to. So it is so cool having you here. I'm like I get all my role models on, and I can talk about my role models. I'm all giddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's good. Grand Nagus, for a lot of people who might not know who you are or what you do, why don't you just take a moment and explain that to the people, like what you do around the intranet?
I play mainly. Even though I'm based in Europe, I play on the US side. Although lately I've put that US playing on the back burner a bit, because I on the backseat a little, because I need to help out a friend of mine with some stuff that she's going through. So I'm going to take some time and play on the EU side and play WoW Classic.
Ooh!
So for the last couple of weeks, I've been playing a WoW Classic over on a EU German server. And let me tell you, that's not as fun as you might think, even though I'm a native German-speaking person. The first 5 minutes, I knew exactly what I wasn't missing. It was like that mishmash of you playing with a English client,
right?
But having the chat going on in German, and the guild chat being in German. It's something that but again, it's something that I chose to do. So, and I'm really loving it more and more, getting the feel for WoW Classic again, and having some discussions with where WoW Classic might go, but we can maybe talk about that a little later. As for other things, I'm a podcaster. I do Control Alt WoW, and I do Corpse Run Radio. So if you've heard of either of those, you've heard of me. If not, well, yeah, you're hearing about them now. So,
and on Corpse on Radio, you've had some pretty big name guests like Devin Marie and Patty Matson.
Yes, correct. I had those two ladies, lovely ladies, uh, come by and doing some interviews along with the voice of Chromie, Karen Strassman.
That's right.
That's amazing.
So that was really awesome to that was really cool, since she is my second favorite character in all of World of Warcraft. Chromie is, so that was really cool.
She is definitely timeless.
Oh yes. Oh yes, she is. So
I'm sorry, Pete. I'm sorry, not sorry.
That's okay. And that's another thing, again, coming back to Classic. That's when we first saw Chromie in Andor Hall, in the old Andor Hall. And I can't wait for my character, my priest in this case, to get to mid-50s, I think you need to be to get to Andor Hall to then meet Chromie and do all the questing for her, and to be there. And it's, yeah, again, that's that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, yeah, there's a lot to do around the end. You like, it's one thing that I'm astonished by every week is how many different individuals there are around, like, the Warcraft content creation community, and like the vast scope of what everybody does as well.
Yeah. And how many different voices. I just found some new podcasts from Rove that are about World of Warcraft. I'm like, I have not heard of that one. I need to look into that one, because like I there was a time where I was on top of all the new podcasts. I've really apparently let myself go on knowing all the new latest podcasts.
I think the biggest problem is that between your massive streaming schedule and like all the billion podcasts that you're on, Frazley, you've lost a lot of time somewhere.
That is true. That is true, because I used to podcast while I used to listen to podcasts while gaming. Can't do that while you're streaming.
Not so much. Although I guess it would give you an extra voice to listen to and bring up like a counter opinion on some things, I guess, in some cases.
Yeah, though I did talk with somebody who says that they don't like it when streamers are listening. Like, they don't come to the streamer for the podcast they're listening to.
Absolutely,
they come to...
yeah. But yeah, so you obviously do a lot, Grand Nagus, and something that Frazley has made, like, obviously you were on an episode of Whispers of War that we both talked about regarding, oh my goodness, it was something to do with Shadowlands. It's been a while, I forgot.
Oh, corruption?
The corruptions, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, corruptions in BFA, yeah, that was it. But Mr. Frazley has made you more aware to me because of your knowledge of add-ons and everything else. And like the chat we were having on pre-show, you're very knowledgeable if somebody was to come to you about a question, because it's pretty much an add-on for everything.
There pretty much is, yeah. I do on Control Alt WoW, I do a segment on add-ons. So, and I started that somewhere in the 320s-ish episode number, and we're at 669 next week. So you can do the math. That's quite a few add-ons. That you can. I mean, obviously, not all the add-ons are. You don't need to talk about all the add-ons, because many of them are redundant. And with all due respect, I choose to talk about the ones that serve the greatest purpose. So if there are some that only do one thing specifically, you have the choice of six add-ons, let's just say. and the ones that are most popular, but they definitely do the same, will be the ones that people lean towards. So you're not going to talk. You're probably going to talk in one segment about 2 of the 5 or 6 that there are. So that's kind of, you can cut back on the total number of add-ons that there are, and then you come up with certain add-ons again and again, with like suites, add-on suites, like we talked in the pre-show, like LVUI, where you have this aspect and that aspect of the same add-on suite. And I think that cuts down, or I know that it cuts down on the number of add-ons that I talked about over the 300 episodes that I've talked about add-ons. So it's something that
I guess a real question could be, when it comes to add-ons, is, do you think that there is some that get massively overlooked for the sake of like the biggest memeing type add-ons, or like the more well-known stuff? Like, for example, like I remember back in Wrath, one of the biggest add-on you'd ever hear people talk about was the fact that you could like get an add-on to play Peggle or something in WoW where you're on a flight point, or like there's stuff like Bartender or everything that's built into the LVUI suite, but you might be able to get a smaller, not so well-known add-on which does the same thing but may be less taxing for your system overall. Like, do you think that there are those add-ons out there, or are they just not robust enough that the big boys do?
I don't really know, because I mean the classic example for me, we talked about this in the pre-show, is Arc Inventory, where many people go towards Bagnon or all in one bag, I think it's called. Those two, as we all know, when the masses go to one add-on, the others follow. It's like a magnet. It's like lemmings.
Yeah.
So, and then that's when add-ons that have a certain mechanic, a certain ability, a certain setup, certain utility, they get overlooked because it's difficult, or not difficult, but it's a little more time consuming to set them up. Same thing with healing add-ons. Healbot is the go-to, but many people, healers that really are into add-ons and healing add-ons, say that on many cases, obviously not all, because again you need to take into account what do you want from your add-on, as again we talked in the pre-show, they lean towards voodoo.
Yeah.
So if the name, for example, Healbot, makes people lean towards a healing add-on more. If the name Healbot, it suggests that it's a healing add-on. So the naming thing, or what's the other one? Voodoo, whatnot, and how is it spelled and all that stuff. So I'll go with Healbot. I know it's a healing thing, and all those things you need to take into account. And if you that already tells me that the one, in this case Voodoo, is lesser known as a healing add-on in the general community than Healbot.
Yeah, I was streaming with my priest on and I was using Voodoo because Sai told me about it, and people were like, "Oh, well, I use Healbot." I mean, it was enough that people were like, "What's this?" Because
see, this is real interesting because I obviously leveled my priest as my first character, and what I used to heal from all the way up until like like I think it was like the end of Wrath was Healbot, but then I moved over to like click through add-ons where you can, because you've Blizzard upgraded the way that their in-game raid bars worked, and then I had like I think I've been using LVI since like Mists and everything else, but like I started using click as a way to use for my healing instead. So, and then I just used like details or some sort of like healing pass meter to be able to like watch the healing done and be able to pass my own healing that way. I was a disc priest, it didn't matter. So
yeah, while you were talking, I was just checking on the downloads in Twitch. What do you think the numbers are for Voodoo and for Healbot?
Probably millions for Healbot.
Yeah.
And probably maybe like a couple thousand for Voodoo.
I think Voodoo's going to be in the hundreds of thousands, maybe.
Yeah, 100. Yeah.
Healbot 40 million, Voodoo 10 million.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's downloads overall though, yeah, and that covers
downloads.
Like,
that's the downloads columns number. Yeah.
Like, I think if I spoke to any healer in my guild, they would say they would use Voodoo.
Yes.
But that's because they've heavily, are comfortable with it. They know what they're doing and everything else. I think when it comes to add-ons, I use it a lot like my technology. I want it to work straight out of the box,
Yeah.
Minimal setup, minimal fuss. And I think that's where Healbot has
The edge,
because straight out the box, it's going to look at your class, it's going to know what you need it to do, it'll read the classes, it'll give you a base guideline of where you want to do your click-throughs for it and everything else. But, yeah, I mean, I get that, I really do, but...
I think part of it is that, like, you don't want to spend time modifying stuff. Like, what I find sometimes is I'm on the stream, and I'm like, okay, I'm working, I'm like, oh, add-on. Okay, did it work? Nope. Okay, turn off, reload, Dubai. I think because I don't want to take the time to be sitting there fiddling with it.
Yeah, I totally get that. Even though, as I said, out of just install and go. You might want to dabble with it over time, like when you're not streaming or when you have like an hour or two sometime. And again, the way that these add-ons are set up in these two examples I stated, Voodoo and Arc Inventory, they shine when you work with them.
Yeah.
But not before you have to polish them.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that some people aren't willing to do.
Yeah, I've gotten Voodoo to work really well for me because like I actually went into some high-end time walking stuff and did a pretty good job. I don't think I did anything past time walking, but still, I mean, and this was pre the corruption nerf because Blizzard just nerfed the scaling of corruption in time walking.
Okay.
So yeah, I wasn't either, and Blizzard said that they made a mistake because Legion, it was working fine, but BFA did not work out. But yeah, so but after doing Voodoo, it's been working better for me. Yeah, it's having to work with it.
There's also a big conversation to be had with big. I mean, again, we mentioned this like because I use LVUI, like big add-on suites which have a lot. Because I can guarantee you, with the LVUI suite, there's probably a lot of the add-ons that are baked into that suite I probably wouldn't even use, and I use very minimal stuff. And you look at like weak auras is a good example. Because everybody uploads screenshots for how their weak auras work, and you sometimes get a lot of questions on how people's UI looks and everything else. And they've obviously, most of the time, they've got some variant of LVUI, but they've got a lot of the LVUI add-ons, like I believe it's the Dark and Light, and they change a lot of things, and like it allows
Shadow and Light.
Shadow and Light.
Yeah.
Thank you. It allows people to edit their UI in some really crazy fashions, and like there's a lot more like UI specific suites. I believe I've seen. What are some of the cool ones I've seen? I've seen one that's based on Azeroth, which looked really cool, but it was like not fully implemented because it didn't have raid frames.
That's right. It was like the Guild Wars 2 interface.
There was there was a Guild Wars 2 interface as well, which looked really cool, but it was so bulky. Like it felt like it just filled up my whole screen.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not modular.
Yeah, that's
or not modular enough.
Mm.
So I really, really love that one, but it's not modular enough so you can use it properly with other add-ons or modules from other add-ons. So it was really, if people want really minimal UI changes and they want really pretty, go check out the GW2. Guild Wars 2 add-on. It looks really, really cool.
Like there's a term in the modding community which is oh my goodness, I had
total
the word
conversion.
Total conversion. Yeah, like I'd like to think stuff like the UI package is close to like total conversion, like of the UI. Like
because I know Preach does I hear his pack that he does is touted quite often. I think Michael uses that one.
I think, I mean, he uses a variant of Elf UI with his own settings and everything else, but there's a lot of add-ons there, I believe, that he also has built in for other things. But I think it's a thing with a lot of streamers when it comes to add-ons, like, because they're watching, like, Preach or, you know, someone else who may use add-ons in, like, a big thing. They go, can I have your add-on set up and everything else? Or your
it makes
UI
sense because you see it and you see how they work. Yeah,
when it comes to looking at UIs specifically, I really do like the idea of less is more, and I keep trying to play with bars that fade out, but then I look at a blank screen and I'm like, where have all my buttons gone? You know, my brain just can't handle it because I played for 15 years with them there for so long.
Yeah,
I tried that too on one of my priests once. It was like I panicked. It was like no 5 minutes was all I could take. It was like, well, like you said, where are my buttons? It doesn't work.
The biggest thing is because even though you know where your bars are, it's having it where it's set to a timer where they fade out and then they'll fade back in or mouse over, and I'm like, where are they? I'm just driving in. Also, I want to point out, you people who have your mini map in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you're weird. My eyes just your eyes just naturally go to the top right of your screen.
Yep.
Like I don't like what the only time I think I've ever had my mini map on the bottom is what was the big add-on like the UI add-on that was in Wrath where it like took, I think it was it Titan Panel, where you took off the bottom like nearly fifth of your screen and made it black, so it actually shortened the actual game itself to improve its frame rate and its
No, Titan Panel is the one on the top that shows you like all your currencies, but I have seen that one.
I think it's close to what Scripe uses for when he's doing method stuff. You know, where he has like the bottom chunk of his screen blacked out, but he has it with all of his action bars and his his raid frames, so he can see everything that's going on.
Yeah, when I need to look into, because I know it's been done, is I need to look into like moving my chat off screen, and that way I could then actually, because I cover my chat up with my webcam, but it would be nice just to move it up, because
a familiar tactic.
Because I was brought to my attention one time. I had like these like 5 add-ons for like on screen, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I'm trying to see what you're doing in the game, but I can't with like your webcam." I was like, so then I try to be more mindful of what's on screen now when I'm doing stuff. So like if I have an add-on to help me with leveling over here, but then I turn off the objectives. I try to make it where you can see what's going on, because otherwise you can really get into like your whole screen is taken up.
Yep. Yeah, I use 3 chat windows now. I found that every player knows the feeling of, oh, I missed something in the chat.
Yeah.
So I started, since I use LVUI, I started to utilize the right hand black box in the corner for all the things all the loot and the trading that I do, like all the skills that I get, all the blue stuff like skills, reputation,
loot,
trading,
trade, everything that comes from your skills, everything.
all that goes out of the that I've removed that from the normal trade, so to separate that out, and it doesn't roll by so fast.
Yeah.
That both of them don't. So
like I've done that recently. I say recently, like it's built into LVUI to have all the loot and trade built into a separate window. But I feel like there's a lot, especially when I'm raiding, I find that there's a lot less that passes for it. Like, but the chat log keeps in its memory. Like I'll cycle back through a fight and I won't get text conversations from like what happened before the boss pool, because the boss has so much text that happens during, especially now during like a 10-12 minute heroic fight, or like onwards on mythic and everything else where they can last longer. Like, can't see what everything's going on. I mean, as I said, I'm using LVUI as a package, so it comes with that. But like, what sort of like chat add-ons would you suggest? I know you said like you have to find out what is good for somebody, but I guess one that I think springs to everybody's mind is Pratt, I believe, is one of the ones. Or do you know one that's...
Yes, Pratt is nice as well. It's something where you can basically do so many things with. You can manipulate your chat, where you can, you can modify it to almost do anything that you want it to do. Like I talked again in the pre-show about what with the class colors, and that's not a part of classic. So people, you can install Pratt there, and it's Pratt 3.0. So you can change the looks. So beware that some of it, if you have like LVUI, you have it doesn't really work together properly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so you have to. There are quite a few things that when you start a new tune, LVUI asks you, do you want this or that? Do you want the LVUI version of whatever modification, or do you want to disable the LVUI version and go with the thing from the other add-on that you've already installed? Same thing with timestamps. If you install Pratt and you activated the timestamps in LVUI, you end up with 2 timestamps. You don't want that, because that takes away from the amount of text in your chat. So either you disable the timestamps in the Pratt or in the LVUI. Then you have the alt names of a character. So if you are in a guild and that character has multiple characters in the guild that you are in, it will, whenever that character, a character of that person logs in, it will list the other characters that are linked to that are part of that account in the chat, so you can see what what character, what person is linked to it. Um, there are quite a few things that Fred does.
I mean, you mentioned WoW Classic and add-ons there. Now, I remember like still playing through with base add-ons and using only like Healbot, you know, to do healing for like dungeons at that point. How do you feel the direction of add-ons and their creation / evolution has affected the way that WoW Classic can be looked at? Considering you can essentially give it, you're playing WoW Classic but with a BFA level of add-on.
It's always this. I look at it the same way as with the progression of the player's ability to play the game.
Right.
If you were to take a player from 2005 that just cleared BWL and take him or her and put them into the Azeroth fight, what will happen? Their head will explode, most likely. With so many abilities, so many things to take care of, what is this?
Yeah.
That's not WoW.
Yeah.
Based on the mechanics that the fight requires you to do. Now reverse that. Not an issue at all. We all know how quick, how fast MC Raggy died, how thick, how fast Nefarian died. Not an issue. It's the same thing with the add-ons. The only difference is that one is a game mechanic, the other is not even necessity, but comfort.
Right.
And
well,
yes, go ahead.
And an advantage, because like I've seen Blizzard just recently removed something from the game because it had people had an advantage. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's
the only thing I can recall that Blizzard have done is they've reduced the amount of API pinging essentially to the server, so it's effectively
because of an advantage, and it did bring up a discussion, at least in the comments, about like players who don't use add-ons. Because I actually met somebody who did not use add-ons. They had just started the game like 2 weeks ago, but they were warned add-ons can like destroy your game, and it is interesting to think what advantage do we have because of add-ons. Like I've got rotation helpers, I've got things that I don't use auction add-ons because I need to get into it, but I don't, and I'm at a disadvantage because of it.
The thing with Classic is that people have a different view of it now.
Yes.
That's basically it. That's the quintessential, that's the core of it. If you were to offer people the same amount of add-ons and the same utility that you could get in current retail, people would be all over it back then. It's just they weren't available. Yeah. And the fact that they weren't available shouldn't be detrimental to the way you look at it. You look at it in a different way. If you go and say, I'm going to allow the add-ons that were allowed and able, that were on the market, so to speak, back when Classic was still vanilla, that would be it. People wouldn't be able to say, Blizzard, they wouldn't be able to say, I want to install it, it works, and I'm going to use it, but I just can't because it doesn't work.
Could you imagine if #no changes meant that people could only install the add-ons that existed back in 2005?
Oh,
That would be hilarious.
What is wrong with that, though?
I mean,
What's wrong with that?
I mean, there's nothing so much
Just
wrong for that, but like you've got to put into the fact that a lot of those add-ons were especially the UI modification ones, are only going to be built for 4.3 monitors for a start, because they were there. The API is out of date because it's using an updated API with the updated client and everything else anyway, and the way oh my god, words, armory systems and everything else work, and looking up data for that. So there's a lot wrong. I'm sure a lot of the add-on creators that did a lot of the original stuff for Classic don't play the game now.
And there's also a perspective change. Like even creating add-ons, we've learned over time how we respond to add-ons and how we want interfaces, because the coding of the like using the lua, but also how we do stuff, it's different.
Yeah, of course. So there are so many ways to look at it, and not only ways to look at it, but you need to look at it different ways. You just have to get an objective perspective and an overall picture. It's just that's just how it is. Just because you can use something doesn't mean it should be allowed.
Yeah,
that's true.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So if you go and say, as I said, hashtag no changes. So if you go and say, I want this add-on to not be allowed because it has the ability to change the game in a way that I don't want. Wait, no, that's not right. Because an add-on does not change the game. The game stays the way it is. It's just add-on.
But an add-on can infer or create unintended gameplay, though.
Like the LFG add-on.
Correct. It can infer different gameplay, but it doesn't mean that the game is different. It doesn't change the game, and that's, I think, the crux of it. We need to separate the, does an add-on change the game, which it cannot, or does it change our perspective of we play the game differently because of the add-on?
I mean, was there a bigger point where this discussion was brought up before Icecrown in Wrath with the floor marker situation on Putricide? Okay. Hi guys, I'm not sure if you can still hear me. Give me a second to rejoin there. Hello?
Hey, you're back.
Hello.
I just said my network disconnected. Okay, my stream didn't drop. It was just Squadcast. Odd. Okay. Yeah, no, I'll repeat that question. Was there a bigger point where that was ever more noticeable in terms of a discussion point than Putricide in Wrath of the Lich King and Icecrown Citadel with the floor marker situation? Because there was the add-on that they had the ability to mark spots on the floor, and then Blizzard, I think it was like on the next reset, disabled the ability for it to do that, but then obviously they put in their own variation of being able to put floor markers on.
Technically, you are right, but I still come back to my point of the add-on makes you able to play the game differently, but the game isn't different. Yeah, it takes you by the hand, so to speak, and tells you go there. But it doesn't mean you can't do it by yourself. The game doesn't prevent you from doing it by yourself. So you don't know.
We're talking about I guess the biggest way to do it would be like the biggest wave of bots using a script, kind of. Is that kind of what you're implying?
Yep.
I'm not sure how much of this in Classic you've seen, Frazley, but with the biggest wave of bots, etc., it's a big talking point at the moment.
Oh, I've seen a lot of it,
It,
and
it's insane. Like the Blue Dragon Cave in Winter Spring.
I remember that from Classic. Yeah, go on. How bad is that?
Oh,
'Cause
it's bad.
the only thing I've seen so far, because the biggest thing that a lot of the content creators are showing are the bots that are in ZG.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one because they've got like the ability to auto fly around and like go under the map for like the rare spawns and the herbs and everything else, and it's bizarre. Like,
Yep.
but I guess, I mean, the botting is obviously based on an add-on with an auto script at the best part of it, because these bots are apparently able to like have scripts for auto trading and auto guidance and doing all the things and everything else. But there's a slight difference between a bot that does all of this and then an add-on that does something, I guess. I mean, because I don't know. There is. I get what you're saying, and there is a very thin line between those two actions.
Yep.
I'd say the closest, and again, when I say this, I'm prefacing it, I'm not saying that this is. I'd say the closest I can think of, and one that's been having an effect on the servers, is the auction house add-ons that let you cancel and add like that. Because you can go in by hand and cancel and add, and if what Blizzard's saying is true,
Well,
that
I was under the impression that the changes they've done were more to affect the add-ons like Sniper, where people could like snipe it at the very last second.
okay, because I thought it was like someone being able to like cancel it. I put up a bunch of auctions, cancel it when a new price comes in, and put it back up again. I thought that's what they were doing it for.
I mean, that still requires the character to be logged in. I guess a bigger example would be, because in TomTom's a good example. TomTom, you can put in a load of different waypoints on the map.
Yeah.
Now, that add-on, when you fly to a specific point, will change to the next point that you've put in that script list. Mm-hmm. Now, a change that I believe may have existed at one time or another would be that your character would auto-fly from point to point.
Okay, then yeah, I've obviously never.
I don't know about that, but
I don't think it was TomTom specifically, but I think there was an add-on that worked with it that would like move you from point to point.
Then yeah, because I know Blizzard does not want automated movement of you. Like
two specific examples for that is Lock and a Hack, and is the Unborn Valkyrie.
Oh, I remember farming that when Cataclysm.
Yep. Those two come to mind immediately. No, Wrath.
Well, the Unborn Valkyrie was a battle pet, and the battle pets were putting in Cataclysm or Mist. I can't even remember that.
Oh yeah. You're right, Mist. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, now we've lost Nagus. I think Squadcast is having a hissy fit today.
I'm checking for DDoS attacks on. But yeah, the good news is Hey, okay.
I think Squadcast is having a hissy fit today.
Yeah, I'm thinking whatever service that they're using for VoIP is acting weird today, because yeah.
Give me you guys keep talking. I just need to move cameras around just where there's been some rejoining.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, I think that's definitely been Blizzard's stance is wanting to make sure that you're not doing automated actions, but it helps you, because like there are definitely things that, like, again, I like rotation add-ons because it says, hey, you should use this, and I'm getting better at knowing like tell me when. I love when it says, hey, this action is ready. There's nothing that's going to stop it. Do it.
Yeah. Again, the point becomes if there was a difference between an add-on guiding you to do something and the add-on doing the item for you specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Sorry, it's the same thing. Back in the very early days of WoW, you had, I can't remember what add-on it was. I think it might Gatherer. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You had an add-on that enabled you to craft an item from the rawest of raw materials to the finished item 7 steps ahead. So, say you want to craft a plate helmet. You needed to make grinding stones, you needed to make bars, you needed to make God knows what. And then you needed to make another type of bar, and then you needed to whatever, add some leather or some whatnot. You put all that stuff in your bag, queued up all these actions to craft that helmet or pants or whatever at the end, and hit craft. And then the add-on would go through step by step by step, starting with obviously with the lowest task, and then go up. And at the end, after 2 minutes or whatnot, that finished epic item would pop out into your bag, because Blizzard hadn't yet prevented the mechanic of you not being able to only do one task at a time.
Yeah.
You couldn't. You had to, whenever you I mean, you can still smell 1,000 bars if you have that many ore in your bag, or grinding stones or sharpening stones or whatever. That's not an issue, but that's one type of action. You don't have to hit the button under 1,000 times.
I mean, I'm sure we'll see. I mean, add-ons are a very weird conversational topic to begin with anyway, because everybody plays the game in a different way. Like, there's add-ons for the RP purists to add-ons for the people who literally just go and farm, to just auction house players and everything else. Like, there's an add-on for everybody. And I mean, I could literally go over to, like, Curse and have a look, and there'd probably be... I always get overwhelmed when I have that moment where I go, let's go have a look at some add-ons and see what I feel like I could put on there. And, like, you just get bombarded with the amount that's there, and you're like, well, is this going to do something for me? And because if you go to, if you, like, literally just Google the best 10 add-ons for WoW, you'll generally come up with the same list of 10. And I think that falls back into what we started the conversation with, of do the things that are more well known fall to the wayside compared to the less well known stuff.
And I could almost also say that the more well known ones have a larger install base, which could also mean that they have been tested amongst more
well
things.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if I talk to you and say about anything tech related, suggest me a mixer for my setup, you're going to suggest me the one you use because you've got practice with it. But
exactly.
Like, and then you, because you use that, will suggest that to other people. And then if I get one, then I suggest that to other people, even though I haven't looked on the rest of the market or tested anything else. I'm just going to have my experience with one thing. And it's the same with add-on and tech. And it's amazing how much real life stuff like works with just like the stuff in a virtual game, like, and how much it just reflects.
You mentioned one crucial word I think we've overlooked so far.
Which one was that?
We haven't discussed yet, and that's the accessibility of add-ons, and namely Curse, or now Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch.
Yeah.
I always
so back in the day, again, like back in my day, you had to go to a website, download the file, copy, unpack it, go into the add-ons folder, put it there, and all these steps. Now, you just shut off the game, go into your Curse/Twitch client, hit install, or you search for the add-on, which you had to do on the website as well, and then you hit install, and the client, the desktop client, does everything for you. So, and with that visibility, that increased visibility, like suggested, like you said earlier with the, I'm gonna have a look. I'm not going to go through the Curse website. I'm going to go to the Twitch client and see like most popular add-ons in whatever section, and then hit install.
I agree with you like tenfold, except that I hate the Twitch add-on for installing add-ons, because it doesn't seem as easy to use, or maybe I'm just crap at using it and I just prefer using the Twitch website, which is probably the facts, because I just go to the Twitch website and just download the add-on, but I use the Twitch add-on for updating my stuff.
Yeah. The Twitch app needs some updates. Like I tried searching for things, and the site's better at searching, or even Google, but because someone tells me add-on, like I don't see it showing up on my app.
It's the Twitch add-on is also real bad if you have different versions of WoW installed in the same folder.
Oh yeah,
because the alpha has a higher name priority, like for Shadowlands, than my retail WoW client. Like every time I go and look onto my Twitch add-on folder, because they're installed on my SSD drive, which is like my fastest one, for which I put WoW on and everything else. But like because they're in the same folder in there under World of Warcraft, it will automatically first find the alpha folder, and I have to click the drop down. It really confused me. Like when I went to retail WoW, I went, right, let's update my add-ons. Why are none of my add-ons showing? Oh, yep. There's a drop down bar. And I think there was like a problem, I think, akin to that when they first launched Classic, and like everybody was updating Classic add-ons into their mainline thing, because not a lot of people realized that as well, or something.
Yep. I was just about to say that it's the same for me. The Classic entry is up top, and then I have to use the drop-down menu to then get to the retail with the PTR in the middle. So yeah,
there's a lot there. I think there's a lot of upgrades and everything else that could be made in general. I think like to add-ons and everything else, and I'm sure they'll have, because Wowhead and MMO are very good at doing this. Like when there's an add-on which improves the quality of life for like the next big gimmick for a WoW expansion, they'll highlight it. So, and that's how a lot of add-on creators get big. You know, it's stuff like Wowhead, MMOC, Icy Veins focusing on the community that's like outpouring stuff that really does increase the quality of life. Like, I feel like everybody's trying to beat each other to like the next Garrison Commander type level of mod for like the next expansion.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
And Azeroth power traits, Grand Nagus, you told me about that, and that has changed so much.
I'll tell you what, like, because I asked you that, and that's what you told me, and I use that add-on now. Like,
see, yeah,
it's ridiculous. As I said, it's drop down economics, but for add-ons. That's what this is. Oh my goodness. We are actually coming up to our time for the day. I know you mentioned a lot about what you do at the beginning of the show, Grand Nagus, but if people want to find you, what are the sort of social links and that they can go and find you on?
You can find me personally on Twitter at Grand Nagus and that's the letter 1, the number 1, and you can find the podcasts that I do. Cops on Radio is crr.podbean.com, and Control Alt Wow is controlaltwow.com. And that's basically it.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I'll have all of those details in the description for YouTube, and hopefully the podcast if I can ever figure that stuff out. But yeah, Mr. Frazley, as always, where can they find you around the internet, my dude?
You can find me on Twitter at FrazleyTastic. You can find my podcast, Frazlecast, at gnome.podcast.com, where I talk to different people throughout the week. This past week, I talked with Burkhart, and I've got Pandagosa coming up, so lots of fun. And if you want to see what add-ons I'm using during and ask me questions, you can find that at gnome.live, where I stream mainly WoW, but I do other games too.
That's true. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can find me on my main account for Twitter at Titans Creed. You can find my gaming-specific one where you can find the podcasts, podcast links, YouTube links, stream links over at Gaming Phoenix. It's generally where I follow a lot of gaming stuff anyway. And if you want more podcasts like this, or just general streams from me, like we've had over the weekend of like, oh goodness, how many hours? 1632. About
48.
about 48 hours of streaming I've done over the last 3 days. You can find those over at twitch.tv/Project Phoenix Productions. Otherwise, you can find VODs of like this podcast right here over at youtube.com/Project Phoenix Productions, as well as VODs of some other bits and pieces, as well as some unique content over there, which is not limited to Warcraft. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much to our guest, Grand Nagus, today, as we've talked about add-ons.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, and as always, thank you from myself, and thank you from Mr. Frazley.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's always fun chatting and stuff like that, and being on my first cup of coffee. This is not even my
It's an
final
early
form.
one today. It's an early one today. Yeah, it'll be hyper as everything later on. Ladies and gentlemen, check us all out on socials and everything else. And until the next time, as Mr. Frazley always likes to say,
Be awesome and update your add-ons.